For today's episode of Power System Crossovers, we are going to take a look at Itachi Uchiha from Naruto, the best anime big brother that we wish we never had. Itachi's ruthless actions and his seemingly kind heart, coupled with insane abilities, makes for one of the most eye-grabbing characters to ever grace a screen. To honor him, we're going to give him one of the most deadly NEN abilities to ever exist. But remember, everything comes at a cost,
and you must be willing to pay.
Forget not to like the video and subscribe. You made it onto this video for a reason. Out of all the millions of subscribers and viewers that I have and will have, every single like counts. Now let's get into Itachi Uchiha's NEN ability. But before that, a little tidbit of information for you, fellas, and even ladies. I don't know if girls watch this video, but call this a cosmic dose, whatever you want to call it. Everything counts. Sooner or later, you're going to pay for everything you've done and everything you didn't do, okay? Do with that information what you will, but I just wanted to let you know. Call that the cosmic dose for the day. But now, let's get into the ability. So, for Itachi's NEN ability, obviously we need to decide, as you already must know, you have to if you're familiar with my videos, what the NEN affinity is. Itachi has a variety of abilities, no shortage of techniques, so it's kind of impossible to decide on one affinity, even specialist, to encompass all of those powers. So I think for this particular video, I picked a certain power, focused on that, and decided the affinity for that. And I think for no objections, or with no objections, y'all will be fine with me picking manipulation for Itachi this time. If I do a part 2, a NEN ability for Itachi, I'll switch the affinity up to pertain to whatever ability I'm basing the Hatsu off that time. But who knows, I might not even do NEN for Itachi again. I might switch the power system up. But neither here nor there, let's get into it. The Hatsu for this video for Itachi is going to be based in manipulation. That's going to be the affinity. Okay, so now what's the name of the Hatsu? It's very important. It's always fun deciding what the name is, but we're not really going to decide it because I've already made the decision. I will be the one to decide. Who said that? Escanor? Yeah, I'll be the one to decide. And I decided to name the Hatsu Red Bargain. Okay, so bargain like you're a deal. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. So the name's not really going to give away what the ability is. But even if I did make the name a little bit more, on brand, on target to what I'm basing this Hatsu off, or which power of Itachi's I'm basing this Hatsu off, even still, if you're familiar with my work, familiar with my videos and any of my content, I like to make abilities and explain their fundamental base on what the ability does. But when it comes to intellectual characters, intelligent characters in general, I will often make an ability and then have them use it in such a different way that doesn't really even match up to what the ability is. An example of that would be, let's take somebody that has a water power, a water magic. And what do you do with water magic? Shoot water balls. You can do a lot of water, hit them with that, drown them in a water ball. I don't know, a lot of things. Anything you could think of with water. Make a weapon of water, anything. If it were me making the video about water, I would flip it a different way and make it, oh, he just cloaks himself in constant water that cools down his muscles to prevent muscle fatigue. So he has almost infinite stamina, which will come into play later on in the fight. So that's a different way of fighting. If you didn't know, muscle fatigue when you're at the gym or whatever comes in from the heating up of the muscle. If you cool down your muscles, you can keep going. You got an extra rep in you. So that's a little bit of a play on that. If I were to make a water ability, I'd use it in that way. And I like to do stuff like that. And I think Itachi's a very intelligent character. I think no one will argue with that. So whatever I explained to you, what Red Bargain is not how Itachi's going to use it. So stick around to see how he actually uses it. Okay, now let's get into what the ability is and how the ability works. Go. What is Red Bargain? It's a raw ass name. I'm not gonna lie about it. Put some respect on it. Okay, so in its fundamental sense, just like bungee gum transforms the aura into a substance that has both the properties of rubber and gum, in case you didn't know that. The fundamental description for Red Bargain is Itachi can take unpermitted damage and manipulate it. Simple as that. Do I really need to go into any more? Obviously I do, but I'll explain that on this next part, and that's how does Red Bargain work. Once Itachi activates Red Bargain, any attack he receives will be registered, stored, and then he can inflict that same damage in his next attack, which cannot be blocked. Also, damage can be multiplied depending on the circumstances, and we'll get to that. This is not to say that Itachi is taking damage and then the damage is going away and getting turned into something else and then reflected, like turned into aura and then launched back at the enemy. He's still taking this damage. He still feels the damage. He's actually hurt. It's not going away. So don't get that part misconstrued. Allow me to explain it just one more time for you. Once Itachi activates Red Bargain, any attack he receives will be registered, stored, and then he can inflict that same damage in the next attack, which cannot be blocked. Damage can be multiplied depending on the circumstances. You might be wondering, how is that a manipulation ability? Well, I'll explain to you why. Touching Itachi without his permission while Red Bargain is active enters the enemy into a contract that states any damage inflicted upon Itachi will be returned without obstruction. This only applies though if Itachi warned them before he activated Red Bargain, I don't want to be touched. So for example, you were stupid enough to encounter Itachi and want to fight him for some reason. You want to fight some dude with red eyes. You're crazy. And Itachi's like, I don't want to fight today. I'm really not in the mood. And you proceed to hit him after he activates Red Bargain. Then you start to enter into that hit, which you didn't want to be hit, turns into a contractual agreement that states, if any damage you inflict on me, I will inflict back on you. Does that make sense? That's how it's a manipulation ability. But the interesting part is all the stipulations and rules that come along with this ability, because Itachi is very intelligent, and if he was a NEN user, he'd be among the top in the verse, if not the top, in my opinion. I don't know. I'm not saying he's the top, but he's definitely up there in terms of all characters. Now let's get into the rules and terms and conditions. Basically, Itachi's ability comes with terms and conditions, only fitting, right? So let's get into that. These are the rules of Red Bargain. So after Itachi tells you beforehand, I don't want to engage in a fight, I don't want to do anything like that, activates Red Bargain, you proceed to do it anyway and attack him. That engages you in a contractual agreement that states any damage you inflict upon Itachi, he can inflict back onto you the same amount, and it's unobstructed. You can't block it. So that's also the manipulation aspect. When he goes to attack you with that damage, you can't do anything about it. You have to take it. Also, let's say that when you do hit Itachi, you are made aware of the rules. So now you know if you hit Itachi, he can hit you again. It all depends on, hey, do you think you're a better fighter than Itachi or what? That's what it comes down to. It's more of a mental game on the other person, a manipulation aspect without actually manipulation. So it's manipulation on multiple layers, some shit Itachi would do. Okay, so here are the rules to Red Bargain once it's activated. Itachi does not have to return the damage. Any damage not returned is stored by Itachi. Damage stored longer than a week doubles in strength. Damage stored longer than a month nullifies the contract. So the person's good to go. They're not manipulated anymore. Nullified contract damage becomes Itachi's free to use. So that damage that was nullified by the contract, he gets to store. It doesn't just dissipate. Damage stored longer than 3 months will reflect on Itachi again, but double again. So it doubled that 1 week and then it doubled again. That's 4 times the amount of damage. If the damage was worth 10 points, it doubles after a week. That's 20 points. Then after 3 months, it doubles again. 20 doubled is 40. The original number was 10. The final number was 40. That's 4 times for my people who are going to try to argue the math on that. So 4 times the damage. It reflects upon Itachi. He gets hit with it all at once, and then it dissipates. But he's still going to be feeling the residuals of that damage. So he needs to get rid of this damage. He can't hold on to it or it will make him pay for it. Like I said, you must be willing to pay. Simple as that. Now let's get into how Itachi uses it. There's a few interesting parts to this, especially one that is really similar to Itachi's character in Naruto. Let's talk about that. Let's start off with that very interesting part that is very similar to Itachi, how he is in Naruto verse. This ability, he's not storing the damage in some alternate place. Itachi is constantly feeling the pain of this damage he stores. So if he does not take this damage and immediately reflect it onto the person and decides to store it, he will feel that consistently forever until obviously 3 months, when it's 4 times the damage and it hits him all at once, and then it dissipates after that. So he's walking around in a constant state of pain. If he doesn't reflect that damage after a week, it doubles. So it's twice the pain. And this is for multiple people. Who knows how many people he's used his ability on in the span of a few months. So he's always walking around in this agonizing pain, depending on how much, pain he took. But that's very similar to Itachi in Naruto, who's always sick. We know Itachi he had an illness, whatever it was, and it was causing him pain. He was going blind because of the Sharingan. He was spitting up blood and all that stuff. He was a sick man. And so this is a reflection of that with this ability I created. So he's always in agonizing pain. And I hate to do that because I love Itachi's character, but we need to keep Itachi. So this ability is based off of that aspect, that he is always in pain. Sad to say, but I think that's a pretty cool aspect of it. Now, let's get into how Itachi uses Red Bargain. Itachi, more often than not, decides to just store the pain that's inflicted upon him, because he decided, hey, I can whoop basically anybody without having to use my ability. I can just use regular NEN. I'm super skilled with aura that I can beat Hatsus without even having to use my Hatsu. I think that's some Itachi level shit. We're gonna disagree on that? I don't really think so. So he's storing this damage, walking around in excruciating pain, waiting for it to pass a month where it becomes his free to use, and he doesn't have to use it on the person that was contractually binded to that. So now he can use it and then use it on anybody. But how does he use it on anyone? Because there was a contract. You can't just inflict pain on people for no reason. But listen, the trade-off for that is perfect, because Itachi takes pain, the pain after a week then doubles, and then he has to store and deal with this pain for a month or 3 weeks, doubled of the original pain, and then it's free to use. So that's a fair trade-off, going through excruciating pain for a month straight and double that, more pain for 3 weeks of that month. That's a fair trade-off for this condition. And listen to the condition on how Itachi uses it. His method of delivery relies on this condition. Only when he makes eye contact with someone for more than 1 second can he transfer damage to them. Okay, so now he decides, I'm not going to transfer it physically. The contract states I just need to reflect it on them. So what he decides to do is reflect it on them mentally. And the condition on how he does that is, if I make eye contact with someone for more than a second, I can now transfer the damage onto them at will. And since you might be like I said, that's broken, he can just look at someone and transfer all this damage to them. But the fact that he was harboring this pain for a month and doubled in value for 3 weeks is a fair trade-off for that condition. It benefits him, but not really, because he took the brunt of all that just to get that condition. So it's fair. So he just returns it by looking at you in your eye. If you make eye contact with him for more than a second, he can now choose to inflict all that stored up damage onto you at once. What happens when he does that is you get extreme psychological stress. It starts to tear at your mental fabric. You see hallucinations, you get psychosis, and then ultimately you feel physical fatigue, physical pain, because the mind is connected to the body. When the brain is in extreme state of stress or duress, the body is going to reflect that. The body's not going to be able to function either. So you make eye contact with Itachi and you're a threat to him, or you want to fight him, or you're one of his targets, he may be an assassin in the Hunter x Hunter verse, you are fucked, essentially. I don't see a way to get out of this, except for I did make a counter to this, but I'll let you decide on if somebody be able to do this. The counter is, if you can make eye contact with Itachi after you've been hit with all this damage in your brain and it starts to tear you apart psychologically, if you could just make eye contact with him for a brief moment again after that, it'll stop. The pain will go away. The ability will deactivate on you. So I think the only way you'd be able to do that is if you were smarter than Itachi and manipulated him to do that, or your ability was so overwhelming that you flexed your Hatsu or whatever and it knocked Itachi out or hurt him and it stopped it or whatever, or luck. All those chances are pretty much slim to none in my opinion. You could let me know what you think, but pretty broken. The freaking red bargain ability is you flick damage on Itachi when he doesn't want it. He can store that damage and reflect it upon you. Normal person would get hit and then hit the person back when they can't block it. But Itachi decides to store that damage, let it multiply, and then take the pain of that to create the condition that if he makes eye contact with someone, he can reflect that damage onto them. Pretty cool way that I think Itachi would use an ability like this. But that's the video, guys. After seeing the video, let me know your thoughts on the red bargain Hatsu I gave to Itachi. Also, follow me on Twitter at... I'll put the link up here. I don't even know what my Twitter name is yet, but follow me on Twitter. We're going to start doing fan submitted abilities for people. And then once y'all submit those, I'm going to take the best ones, mash them up, and then talk about them on a YouTube video and say, hey, break them down and say why this is good, why it's not good. Take a couple of the bad ones, give a little bit of constructive criticism to help you out for next time, because we're going to do a bunch of these. So I'm going to be rating your NEN abilities. If you like to do this, follow me on Twitter. The link will be right here, or that my name will be, it'll be in my bio as well. And we can get that going. I think that would be fun, entertaining for everyone. Also, I'll talk about characters I'm going to do, let you guys pick the characters. I'll do video, let you pick the character, let you pick the power system, then boom, I'll mash it up and make some fun that you guys can look forward to. So yeah, check that stuff out. Hit me on Twitter and all that stuff. And guys, like I said, everything counts. Sooner or later, you will pay for everything you've done and everything you did not do. Do with that information what you will, just a little cosmic dose. But I will catch you in the next one, guys. Peace. 君の気持ちを大事にしなかった私の頭